Hello and welcome to Hispanic Agenda, Washington's only bilingual news program. I'm Alejandro Negron. Thank you for watching. On today's agenda, Latino views on health, discrimination, and immigration. We'll discuss the findings of a new poll with the roundtable, as well as new analysis by Pew Research that finds that a majority of Hispanics speak English or are bilingual, and why that matters. But first, this week, Senator Ted Cruz became the first Republican to formally announce his candidacy for President of the United States. ABC 7 News' John Gonzalez went out and got reaction to the Texas senator's presidential bid. Here it is.
Well, Alejandro, his last name is obviously Latino, but some are warning Latino voters to not be fooled. Texas Senator Ted Cruz made it official this week.
I believe in the power of millions of courageous conservatives rising up to reignite the promise of America. And that is why today I am announcing that I'm running for President of the United States.
Cruz is the first Republican out of the gate, which gives him an opportunity to set the ideological tone. But will he attract Latinos? Walter Tejada says absolutely not.
If we needed any words anti-immigrant candidate to run for president, we couldn't have one than Ted Cruz. He's just a very divisive person.
Just as President Obama did in 2008, Cruz is now trying to make the massive leap from freshman senator to the White House. Cruz supporters say he's exactly what the Republican Party needs.
If you keep doing the same thing over and over again of getting a moderate Republican, you cannot win.
The Texas Republican is perhaps most well known for leading the fight against the president's health care law. His father is Cuban, his mother American. He was born in Canada.
He was willing to compromise a nation's security simply because his capricious tantrums against President Obama.
Strong words from Tejada. Now, Cruz has opposed laws offering in-state college tuition to children of undocumented immigrants and has also railed against President Obama's executive order. And of course, in the coming months, we'll learn more about Cruz's pros and cons.
Now, as you were out looking for reaction to Senator Ted Cruz's announcement, what did you find when you were talking to Latinos? Was it difficult to find someone to support his candidacy?
It really was. It really was. I mean, Democrats across the board were anti, but even Republicans, I think they have some issues they have to deal with within that party, trying to figure out if Cruz is their guy.
He's kind of too hot to handle.
Too hot to handle right now.
Sometimes. Let me ask you, there's some controversy now as to, and we just saw the video of the announcement, a lot of people there, but apparently they were mandated to be there, right?
It was a packed house. If you watched it on TV, big crowd, but apparently Liberty University, which is founded by televangelist Jerry Falwell, doesn't give the students the option to not attend. They have to attend an event like that. So it was a packed house.
And this is being brought up by the Rand Paul's people, from what I understand.
Right. And in fact, if the students didn't show up, they would be fined $10. So they had to be there, and there definitely was speaking of Jerry Falwell, there was a televangelist type of demeanor for Ted Cruz. It seemed like he was this preacher talking to his congregation.
All right, Johnny Gonzalez, thank you so much. When we come back, from the moment Senator Ted Cruz announced his intention to run, his Latino credentials have been openly questioned in the media. Is that fair? I'll ask a leading Latino conservative, Alfonso Aguilar, Executive Director of Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles, and why he thinks Cruz's candidacy will influence the rest of the Republican presidential field. Coming up on Hispanic Agenda. Welcome back to Hispanic Agenda. I'm Alejandro Negron. My next guest is a leading Latino conservative voice and advocate for Latinos inside of the Republican Party. Alfonso Aguilar is the Executive Director of Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles. Welcome back to Hispanic Agenda. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so you guys are making a lot of news.
Yes,
Republicans this week. Indeed, we have Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz.
Right.
Being the first one to throw his hat in the ring. I want to ask you about what effect his announcement will have in the rest of the Republican field. But first, I want to start with this, what I think may be unfair. Some people questioning Ted Cruz's Latino credentials. Do you think that's fair?
Oh, it's totally unfair. I mean, because he tries to create this perception that the Hispanic community is a monolithic community.
Yeah.
There's one Hispanic agenda that all Hispanics have to buy into. And the reality is that not only are we not monolithic in the sense that we come from all different parts of Latin America and the Caribbean, but we also have different ideas and different interests. So to say that because he's not good on the immigration issue, that he's less Hispanic, it's ridiculous, and I would say even condescending. It's playing racial identity politics, but you know what? Latinos are above that, and the reality is that if you have a good message to Hispanics, they respond favorably.
I want to ask you about it a little later on
Yeah.
in this conversation about what the strategy is going to be to get Latinos to vote for the Republican Party, specifically now where the Republican brand is kind of, it's been tarnished by the conversation on immigration and other issues. But let me ask you about Ted Cruz's effect on the presidential field on the Republican side. How do you think he's going to impact that?
Well, I think it was very smart of him and his campaign to announce first, because we're all talking about him right now,
Sure.
and it's going to happen for the next 2 weeks. By being the first one to announce, you're going to see every single candidate, potential Republican candidate, reacting to the agenda that he's setting. So very smart. I think that he's going to be a major player in the debates by standing for a very broad conservative and comprehensive conservative platform. I think he's going to press candidates like Rand Paul, Jeb Bush on social issues like life, marriage, but also on economic issues. I think that he has more of a populist economic message.
Okay.
I think he's going to pressure Governor Bush to see how he identifies with the American working class. So I think it's going to put pressure on candidates, perhaps to move a little bit to the right.
Now, that usually happens during the Republican primary process, and it ends up with candidates getting so bruised during that process that they're unelectable later on in the general election. Do you fear that could happen?
Well, you know, I think especially on the issue of immigration, I think that they have to present a balanced perspective. It's all right to talk about border security. It's all right to talk about domestic enforcement, but they also have to address the big elephant in the room, the undocumented population. What are you going to do with undocumented immigrants? In that respect, I think Governor Bush and Senator Rand Paul have addressed that issue, have said that we have to look at the undocumented population and find a way to bring him out of the shadows. Ted Cruz, in that respect, keeps saying we should only focus on border security, and that's where that really doesn't help him if he were to become the nominee.
And that could potentially hurt other candidates if he forces them, you know, someone like him forces them to take stronger views on immigration. Like, for example, you know what happened with Mitt Romney.
Right.
Mitt Romney was not an anti-immigrant type when he was governor of Massachusetts. What happened with Senator John McCain? He was very pro-immigration, and then he was challenged on the right for his seat in the Senate, and became a lot stronger on that issue, and it hurt him.
Well, I think a lot of strategists and even candidates misread the Republican electorate. The majority, and if you look at polling, support immigration reform. It's really politically not very intelligent to take a very extreme position on immigration. And as you very well said, candidates who've done that have ended up not winning the general election. I think the narrative and the rhetoric you're going to see during the primary is going to be very different. Okay. We're still going to have some candidates that are going to sound more restrictionist, but you're going to have candidates like Lindsey Graham, Governor Bush, Rand Paul, and even Ben Carson and Marco Rubio presenting a more sensible, common sense immigration plan.
And just in those names that you just mentioned, it seems like a lot of diversity this time around. Well, we want to thank you, Alfonso Aguilar, for your time.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on. All right. When we come back, Latinos' views on health, discrimination, and immigration. We'll discuss the findings of a new poll with the Roundtable, as well as a new analysis by Pew Research that finds that a majority of Hispanics speak English or have bilingual or are bilingual, and why that matters. Coming up on Hispanic Agenda. Welcome back to Hispanic Agenda. I'm Alejandro Negron. A recent poll by the firm Latino Decisions asked Hispanics about their views on health, discrimination, and immigration. Plus, while not necessarily breaking news, Pew Research finds that a majority of Hispanic adults speak English or are bilingual. We'll delve into these topics with our roundtable this week. From ABC 7 News, John Gonzalez is here, the editor-in-chief of El Tiempo Latino, the Spanish language publication of the Washington Post. Alberto Avendaño and Gloria Curiel is a reporter with Telemundo Washington. Welcome, all of you, to Hispanic Agenda.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Pleasure to see you all. And Claudia, welcome. First time on the roundtable on Hispanic Agenda. Let me ask you.
We'll be gentle with it.
Please, Alberto, please behave. Please
I didn't say a word yet.
All right. Claudia, let me first ask you about this poll by Latino Decisions, about our opinions, Latinos' opinions on healthcare, discrimination, and immigration. What did they find?
Well, you know, clearly there's more healthcare available now for Hispanics, but regardless, a lot of them aren't taking it. And I think it has to do with lack of information because, you know, I've been out there, I've done a few stories on Obamacare, and I've interviewed people that are signing up, people that help them sign up. And for example, there was a story that struck with me, and there was a Hispanic person that had lived in this country for 20 years, and in 20 years, they hadn't gone to see a doctor. And like that, there are many, but this person had serious medical issues, and their plan was to save up to go back to their country of origin and be treated over there. And by pure chance, they found out a little bit about Obamacare. They signed up, and they were able to be treated here at an affordable price, and save themselves from that whole ordeal.
And basically, that's what we find, Alberto, that a lot of people are getting health insurance. We've seen the number of Latinos that are uninsured come down, but still, many people don't necessarily see the benefits of having health insurance. They're more doing it maybe because they don't want to pay a penalty.
Well, it's about penalties. It's about, I think it's a cultural issue. I mean, and we have, when we talk about Hispanics in the United States, or Hispanics of the United States, we can focus in two different worlds. The newcomers or the people more in a niche that we could be called blue collar, people that are really in need of these health services, that are very, they don't believe in the system, or they don't understand the system. So I think what is failing, number one, is the reaching out.
Is the outreach.
The outreach.
Yeah.
Yes, the government is doing great efforts reaching out this community. We know in our metropolitan area, for example, great people doing this work, and they are creating great inroads. However, the results are still not yet. Okay. It takes time. It's cultural, as I say, in a lot of senses, what Claudia commented before, and I think that we need to put more effort. We need to engage the media in a more effective way.
Sure.
I mean, there is a lot of stuff that is
There's
still
a lot to talk
done.
about, sure.
Yeah.
John, let me ask you, the poll also asks Latinos about discrimination and immigration. 40% said that definitely they feel that they are in anti-immigrant environment.
You know, I think it depends where there's a fine line these days. What do you define as discrimination? I think we can all here at this table agree that we've probably
at some
experienced some sort of discrimination or witnessed it with a relative. But what is discrimination at this point? You know, we have to delve into what is really crossing the line as far as criminal and what is just a sensitivity issue.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people can relate to, having their feelings hurt, but is that necessarily something that really needs to be brought into the forefront?
Sure.
I'm not sure.
I think these statistics and these surveys are always tricky, and they related a lot to the communities where you are talking, the people you are really surveying. I mean, the United States of America has a very sophisticated Hispanic population, and yes, you have the newcomers, and you have a real issue with the undocumented population. Then you have a very well, solid, established Hispanic population. Claudia is an example of it.
And
my children are an example of it.
Okay, and Claudia, you wanted to chime in really quick before we get to the next topic. Go ahead.
Right, well, even though we have all these different types of Latinos, I think there's still that mentality that they're the same. There's an example of this person called Jose Zamora. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he applied from 50 to 100 jobs every single day, so very persistent man, and he wasn't hearing back from any of them until he had a hunch, and he took out one letter of his name, the S, and applied as Joe Zamora, and suddenly all his inbox started.
We did a story like this last year on the program, and it was basically the same result.
These things happen in this land. These things happen, is true, but also the opposite is true also. Okay. I mean, we have the fact of being Hispanic and bringing that wealth of knowledge and cultural background to many companies work in your favor too.
All right, let's talk about this. Pew Research Center, the Pew Research Center, has a myth-busting report out this week. A majority of Latinos use English to express themselves.
That's breaking news.
It's not necessarily for us, but I think that we should talk about this because, you know, there's many accusations of lack of acculturation, of not wanting to assimilate, when the truth is Latinos are assimilating.
Now, the thing is that not only we are assimilating, we are embedding ourselves in the culture and the country that we belong to. And that, and this is bad news for the nativists of the people who live in a different planet, that does not mean that Spanish language is going away. No, Spanish language is becoming extremely well embedded into the social and cultural fabric of this land, and this is going to be good for this land. We are right now in our school systems throughout the nation building the new global student, the new global citizen, if we take care of their cultural wealth, what they bring to the
Right, and Claudia, you're a great example of this.
Yeah, well,
you speak Spanish because your parents made sure that you did. You were born
exactly.
here, correct?
You know, I'm an example of this. I was born and raised in the United States, and thanks to my parents for teaching me the language of, you know, our family, our culture, I've had so many doors open to me. I have the job that I have today as a reporter in Telemundo because I learned to speak Spanish because of my parents and because of my culture. And in fact, people are surprised that I speak English because they think I only speak Spanish.
Well, I think a lot of people will get surprised, surprised that other folks speak English. All right, guys, we don't have any time for more. Thank you so much, Claudia Curiel, Alberto Bendaño, and Johnny Gonzalez from ABC7 News. When we come back, how the local Salvadoran business community is helping low-income students achieve their goal of higher education. Coming up on Hispanic Agenda. Welcome back to Hispanic Agenda. I'm Alejandro Negron. Salvadorans in our region have left their mark in our community since large numbers of immigrants from El Salvador came to the nation's capital in the late 1970s through the 1980s and early 90s. They're known for their work ethic as well as for how united they are as a community, especially when it comes to business and philanthropy. A good example is the work of the Salvadorian Business Caucus and its president, Nelson Ayala, who joins me now, and just today gave over $102,000 in scholarships to low-income students of our region. Nelson Ayala, welcome, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you, Alex. It's always an honor to be here.
So tell me, well, today, I was with you, over $102,000 given away in scholarships to needy families and low-income folks. Tell me about that.
We're definitely so excited that after 10 years, basically, the work has come to the full blown, which is providing what we dream of, which is giving the opportunity to those people that come, with just the hope of making it, and somehow they chose to go to school and to sacrifice themselves, but they don't have the means to continue and to achieve the goals. So the caucus is now providing this number of becas, a number of scholarships to 3 college and university students and 12 scholarships to high school students that are ready to jump into the field of college.
This is great. So you have about 10 kids or 12 kids, 10 to 12 kids that are benefiting, that they're now in high school.
Yes.
Correct? So that they can go to college and become everything they want to be.
Exactly.
And you also have a few folks that are already in the university.
Definitely. The 3 students that we have chosen, there are 2 young ladies who will become a nurse. And we are awarding this scholarship for the entire 3 or 4 years that will take them to graduate.
2 I know are nurses. There's another friend.
He's a chef.
He's going to be a chef.
He's going to be a chef.
And this is all at the Carlos Rosario
Yes.
School. And this is a great partnership with a great institution, Carlos Rosario, such a staple of our community. Correct?
We're very excited to do this partnership with Carlos Rosario, since it's the only charter school that welcome from all the world. Doesn't matter if you are legal, illegal, if you're black, white, Chinese, Asian.
They work with everyone.
Everyone.
And they welcome even the prince
Totally.
was there a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, indeed. So we're very excited to do
Prince
this
Charles.
partnership, and that we know that it's just the beginning for a long, long-lasting working relationship with Carlos Rosario.
Now, the $102,000, where does that money come from? I know that the Salvadoran Business Caucus has many members that donate, and how do you guys get access to all those? That's a lot of money.
We're very
you guys are giving
fortunate.
out.
Yes, definitely. We're very fortunate to have a good group that support not only Salvadorian business and professionals, but also bank institutions, insurance institutions, people that believe that education is so important. And, you know, our donors come from all over the place. And we do create a membership program so that we can, you know, sustain ourselves. Obviously, the caucus do not have any operating expenses, so it's basically whatever dollar is received is basically given back to the community. So that's the good thing, that why we do those, why we are able to achieve these goals.
And you are a very busy man, because not only do you have your business as a CPA, your accounting business, your accounting firm, which has been established here forever, Ayala and Associates, you dedicate a lot of, I mean, right now you're in tax season. What are you doing outside of your office? It's hard to find a CPA during this season out doing anything else other than taxes.
I believe this is my baby. You know, this is my creation. I feel that with the support of the board and all the people that believe in the organization, I think it's worth to be here. And thank you for giving us the opportunity.
And thank you, Nelson. I want to thank you so much. I'm sorry we're out of time, but congratulations on everything you do.
Thank you.
All right. Please check out our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Tune into Telemundo Washington for the Spanish version of this program, and be sure to join us again next week here on News Channel 8. Thank you for watching.